Welcome to a special presentation of the Racing Roundup Show, live from the Kulwicki Garage, inside the UW-Milwaukee School of Engineering and Applied Science Department. The Racing Roundup Show started in 1985, and one of our first shows held in an audience setting was at Alan Kulwicki's send-off party, days before he left for North Carolina to pursue his NASCAR dreams. Since then, we have followed Alan's amazing path, both on our show interviewing Alan a dozen times or more, and in his memory since his passing 30 years ago. It's a celebration of Alan Kulwicki Weekend, and we are live from Alan Kulwicki's alma mater. On this show, you'll see some rare items and hear some stories from those who knew Alan well, from faculty, students, and racers, and recipients of the annual Kulwicki Scholarship here at UWM. Tonight, join the racing crowd on the UW-Milwaukee campus, or stay right where you are for a special show all about the 1992 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Alan Kulwicki. And now, here is the host of the Racing Roundup Show, Jim Trado.
How you doing? Good evening, and thanks for joining us here at the Kulwicki Garage, where just moments ago a non-alcoholic toast was given to the 1992 NASCAR Cup champion alumni of UW-Milwaukee's wonderful building we have here. It's got the Kulwicki Garage in it. This is the UW-Milwaukee College of Engineering and Applied Science. We're hanging out here on this wonderful occasion to celebrate Alan. It's a Alan Kulwicki celebration weekend, and we're glad to be here in the midst of this reception. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome to share this on Facebook. You're welcome to share this on any platform, on racingroundupshow.com as well. Tell your friends. You can watch it tonight live. You can watch it anytime at those two outlets, and we'll remind you as well throughout the show. We've got a lot of guests here. These are students that are pursuing their engineering degree. They are here tonight. The SAE program unveiled the paint scheme on their Baja car they're competing with at UWM this year. That has the white on top, orange on the bottom, number 7, and Hooters across the hood of that car. We'll talk to some of those students as well as the dean here at UW-Milwaukee. This university has produced a lot of cool people, and one of the ones they continue to celebrate is Alan Kulwicki. It's the Kulwicki Garage behind us because Thelma Kulwicki and the Alan Kulwicki Trust with Jan Beatty have created and established a scholarship here, awarding a student each year in engineering a scholarship to attend UW-Milwaukee to pursue their mechanical engineering, as Alan Kulwicki did and succeeded in graduating from here in 1977. Alan remains the only, in 75-year history of NASCAR, Alan remains the only college graduate that has won the NASCAR Cup Series championship, and what a way he did it. It's an amazing story, an amazing run, and we're hanging out with you here for a little while. And the Alan Kulwicki Memorial Scholarship Fund here at UW-Milwaukee, we'll talk to some of the recipients. Matter of fact, they're racing. We got Riley Stenjum hanging out with us. He just showed up because he's part of the Kulwicki Driver Development Program last year. Current UW-Milwaukee student in mechanical engineering, Levon Vandergeest, is one of the 15 finalists for the Kulwicki Driver Development Program in 2023. He just went through the interview process. He may be one of those 7 drivers. Levon will join us as well as a gentleman who's been around the process of making Alan pretty cool and memorable here in Milwaukee. Helped out Alan Kulwicki Park. He's on the board of the Kulwicki Driver Development Program. Thumper, his name is. Jim Roth is here with us tonight as well. We'll talk to Thumper about all the cool things he's got to experience from his days at Salago McDonald's on South 76th Street in Kulwicki Corner to what he's doing today and keeping Alan's legacy and memories very much alive. We have a lot of guests to get to this evening. We wanted to start with a guy, I think you might, if you saw our social media posts, you might have seen me say, you will learn tonight the origins of Mighty Mouse. And guess what? We have Mighty Mouse here behind us on that red shirt, if you can see it. And we have 2 very special people joining us first off the blocks. When Alan first started racing a stock car, these 2 people were very much part of that process, and we're so glad to have them sitting next to me here tonight at UW-Milwaukee. Let's welcome in John Jeffords, our founder's son, Terry Jeffords' son, John, and Marilyn Mee. Guys, thanks for coming down.
You're welcome. It's really, I was just telling somebody earlier, I think the last time I was in the EMS building here at UWM was going to hang out with Alan in his little TA office.
So you were telling me, hang on, Marilyn. So Marilyn went to UWM, I went to UWM, but I didn't go when you did. You went to school the same time Alan did here, right?
Yeah, Alan was further ahead of me because I wasn't a really good student, so I was never taking more than 12 credits. But, Alan was cramming in as much as he could, getting through it as fast as he could. So So, but that was so much fun because when we first started dating, that was one of the things we had in common is we were both UWM students.
So you said TA, which is important because teacher advisors get the chance to get some of their tuition knocked off to help teach classes or be the small group instructors when there's a big lecture. They have others involved with the curriculum. So I'm guessing that was what? Race tire money? Alan wanted to save a few bucks?
Exactly. Anything. And now I say this with love. He was such a cheapskate. He was. I mean, can we just admit it? He was so cheap. Anything he could do to save money on anything, Alan would do it. And I am guessing that he probably wasn't thrilled with the idea of being a TA. He was a little socially awkward. I don't think, being in front of a bunch of students or working with a student one-on-one was really Alan's forte. But if it meant getting money knocked off that tuition, he was going to do it.
Such great stories.
This is a guy who is very, very first race uniform, Jim.
Is it right back here?
Yeah, that one. When they changed the rules at Slinger, because when I first started going out there, and this is when Alan was working his way towards being a track champion the first time. They finally changed the rules. I think it may have been due to an accident. They changed the rules at Slinger. No more racing in jeans and T-shirt. You actually had to wear a racing suit.
Yeah.
That was fire retardant, and so Alan managed to buy the least expensive one that was made and wouldn't even spend the money to have his name put up.
71 of the feature last night. He was an incredible scientist, a mad scientist when it came to racing and how it applied. And John Jeffords, you're an engineer by trade. You got a chance back in the day to wear these two shirts behind us. Alan was wearing that uniform because he had to. You elected to wear this black shirt and the red shirt behind us as an Alan's Kulwicki crew member. Mm-hmm. Was it because your dad was interested in Alan and sponsoring him with the 97 WLPX? How did that all start for you?
So I'd have to defer to Marilyn. My dad comes home one winter evening and says, big news, WISN FM is changing their format. Instead of Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart, it's going to be Wisconsin's Best Album Rocker. And now they're coming up, they're strategizing. We're going to buy a 1948 fire truck, paint flames on it. We're going to get a guy named Eric Wallner to fly a ultralight with the call letters underneath it, and races, stock cars. So here I am now. I'm going to be the son of the sponsor, and our family has an interest in motorsports between Slinger, Hales Corners,
road racing,
then road racing, Road America, Blackhawk Farms. Mm-hmm. So, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to engineering school. Here's a chance to get on a race team with an engineer, a recent graduate, and was very excited when I found out that somehow Marilyn had notified my father that, boy, you should sponsor my boyfriend.
It started, Terry's, John's father, Terry Jeffords, just one of the great radio sales and marketing guys ever in this market, Jim. He was, the guy
did our show. Do you recognize this guy? Yeah, Alan came to our show because Terry said, you need to show up at the show. This was one of our Racing Roundup shows, I think in 1991.
And
continue, please.
Terry was just this brilliant sales and marketing guy, and Terry was my boss at WLPX. I was doing traffic and continuity. I was scheduling commercials, and so I was working for Terry, and would talk about my boyfriend. 20-year-olds usually do, and Terry. John sat being is very interested in racing. Terry was intrigued. Well, and then during that winter, we had our annual WISN WLPX Christmas party out at North Hills Country Club, and I brought Alan to that, and he and Terry met, and they just clicked. They just really, really hit it off. And when Terry found out that I wasn't just saying it, he really was a great race car driver, it's just all snowballed from there. And I think it was really, I loved, I had gotten to be so close with the whole family. And to this day, Kelly Jeffords, John's sister, is one of my very best friends. And that's how far Kelly and I go back. But Terry was really so instrumental in in marketing.
He made Alan find other sponsors. He said, I will sponsor you, but you're going to learn how to go after money.
Yeah,
and make sure you are part of what they're buying.
And Terry just, had all those kind of skills that Alan just didn't have. So it was a really great pairing, and they just had their own little mutual admiration society, and I thought it was so great that John, no offense, but if it wasn't for your dad, I'm not sure Alan would have let you come and hang out in the garage and work. But it was how great for John that it worked out that way. And to me, John was Kelly's little brother Johnny. It was so, but it was nice. I kind of felt like when Alan was having a bit off time, I had a little ally in John Jeffords.
Yeah,
and Alan had an ally in Terry as well. Terry told me many times, at least once a week, it'd be a 1-hour phone call. He would expect at Alan's time, 11 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning, 9 p.m., and they would always affectionately call each other and say, "Hey, it's Ernie from Ernie Koniecki's Pizza." Yeah. And they knew they were on the mode, and Terry was really a guidance for Alan, especially when he didn't have that sponsorship between Xerox and Hooters. And we had him on the show multiple times during those moments. So as you talk about that relationship, it was so special. And John, you got to be a front row viewer and a participant in that.
Yes.
Your dad and Alan, and developing with Marilyn, all the cool things you guys got to do together.
Right. Yeah, the good news was I was engineer in training. I was going to MSOE. Wanted to get involved in engine development, engine design. Here in southeastern Wisconsin, we got the Mercury Marines, the Evinrudes, the Harley Davidsons, Waukesha engines. So what a great place to grow up to be an engine guy, and what a great mentor now to hang around a race shop that's run by a degreed engineer. That's the good news. The bad news was Alan could irritate some people.
And we all laugh at that now, and but it's like laughter with love.
Laughter with love, yes. But me I called myself the apprentice gopher, because I've been to racetracks, hundreds of hours at tracks, but have never worked on a race car where if I make a mistake, driver might end up in the wall in turn one. So I didn't mind having Alan walk up behind me unannounced and be leaning in and watching it. I wanted him to see what I'm doing. Am I doing this right? What is the torque? What is the correct procedure? Whereas more senior people didn't quite like that scrutiny. So I relished in it as an apprentice gopher. I loved it. And one of the things my dad came up with was of course, we had to have the crew shirts.
Yes.
So proud to wear this, both not only at the track, but in high school. Alan Kulwicki, WLPX was when they hit their ratings just shot to goal. Alan was, if this saves him a couple dollars.
Turn that baby around, John.
Well, okay. I retired my bowling shirt here, and begrudgingly wore the red prototype. So now I still remember like it's yesterday. We're at Slinger Speedway. First time we're wearing the shirts. All 8 of us are wearing our shirts. Alan always had a to-do list. There was always something on the list, getting through the list. And I look up at one point, and these shirts I see them spotted throughout the crowd. And I come to find out they sell these shirts at their shop. It's a retail shirt. It's not even our, crew, camaraderie, team. You got to be kidding. So
it crushed John's world.
So the next week, back at Slinger, gorgeous night, I run over. There is a vendor that sells decals and patches.
And put them on hats right where you're waiting for them, that kind of thing.
Just a huge display. I think his trailer opens up.
That trailer was at Slinger for years.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to find a patch. I'm going to find something to put on that maybe that would separate us from the common people, that we are Alan's crew. So I'm looking, I see hooker headers. Ooh, that's kind of neat. I was like the moon eyes, if you remember. What was moon? Exhaust?
Hubcaps, I think. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was exhaust, you're right.
Monroe shocks. I don't know if Alan, but none of the product patches were resonating. Alan did, other than Klotz Oil.
That was his favorite T-shirt.
Always had
shirts.
Oh
my God!
Klotz Oil, but I couldn't find a Klotz Oil shirt.
I think he had more than one, because I saw some pretty dirty ones and I saw a clean one. I'm sure he didn't have time to do laundry, so he had probably more than one.
When he was working at Pagel Hydraulics, he used to get a lot of those shirts for free.
He worked there with Doug Mayer, as a matter of fact. Yep. So I'm kind of dejected. I look over and I see now there's more guys hanging around. The cars coming off the trailer. Oop, I better get back. I don't want to be late. And as I'm walking away from the trailer, dejected, out of the corner of my eye, the last row of the trailer, a Mighty Mouse patch is on display. And what caught my eye was the color. I thought, oh, I'm an engineer, so color combinations kind of escape me. But it matched the reds, the yellows. It was like a really good color combo. That was the first thought, was the color combination. So I bought this patch because it was something unique, and then gave it to my girlfriend to sew on. And I show up the next Sunday wearing this shirt with the first Mighty Mouse patch. I don't know where we hold this.
Yeah,
and
this is OG material right here.
And
Alan really was kind of, the Mighty Mouse.
It dawned on me,
like, it really suited him.
I didn't realize that till later. What the implications? What's the right word? That it was quite suitable. So I didn't think much of it. Nobody was really paying attention of it. There was no time to talk on Alan's crew. It was just busy, checklist. So
don't you people dare have fun and laugh.
So Marilyn pulls up in what's the
in my silver Grand Am with
Grand
the maroon
Am.
top. I
Yeah.
thought that thing was so cool.
And of course,
I have stories about Alan deciding we're going to race that car.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So there was always a 30-second break in the pits when Marilyn got out of her car because heads would crank and eyes,
John.
Was she parking in the Miss Slinger Speedway parking spot? Because she was Miss Slinger.
Yeah.
All right, just checking.
So of course, Marilyn comes out, and out of the passenger seat comes what looks like a one of Charlie's Angels. Which one?
Jacqueline Smith, you told me.
Jacqueline Smith.
I got the story firsthand, and he couldn't really tell it as good as he is now.
Marilyn has brought a friend who is a girl and is Hollywood strikingly classic gorgeous. Just everything comes to a stop in Slinger Pits as these two are coming out of the car, and Marilyn walks up to me, and immediately her eyes, finally somebody recognized the patch that my girlfriend sewed on. John, that looks great. Where did you get that? And the angel on one shoulder starts to point. Right there. There's the trailer. The devil says, you dummy, don't point. Guide them.
Take the two hot girls with you.
Guide them to the trailer, which I did. For 37 seconds, I was the most envious man on the planet planet Earth, with two strikingly beautiful women. Marilyn buys out everything he had. She wants them all, and as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story is history. That started. You must have sewed the first Mighty Mouse onto one of his race suits. The girl that's my high school sweetheart who sewed this on. Look at the quality.
Very
she did
nicely
such
done.
a great job.
Yeah.
I married her. She's sitting here. We're going to celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary shortly. So good job, honey.
So I've got time for a couple more stories. We have more stories to tell tomorrow. We're going to invite Marilyn back to Alan Kulwicki Park when we do this. But as students here, Marilyn,
Yes.
Alan on occasion would borrow.
Steal.
Don't tell anybody that works here.
Yeah.
This is a computer card that would spit out of the computers in 1976 at UW Milwaukee. It says on the back, the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Computer Services Division. So this is like an official something you have to do for a class.
Yeah.
But he used this to say something else. If you wouldn't mind reading that, and he put that under your windshield wiper on your car parked here at WM.
Parking violation, front wheels not parallel to curb, fine, steak dinner at Sally's. See,
How often did he give you parking tickets?
very often.
How classic is that?
Yeah, and sometimes
Oh, my God.
Sometimes he'd make up different names, like Alan and your dad did, John. He'd be Officer Kowalski, and it would always be some crazy thing. But having that silver Grand Am with the maroon top, it was not a hard car to pick out. So on school days, it was very common to come out and find a quote unquote ticket on my car, and as John, I let John here look through my memorabilia box, just the weird random things that I saved. Some of the fines are not for are not
Really?
yeah. So
All in the fun.
Yeah, but it was.
I like to hear the story that he's not always serious all the time. You must have had a lot of fun with him, because I know just through Terry how much fun he had around his friends that he trusted, and didn't feel like he had to be on some sort of stage or worry about what may happen with his actions. It just had to be a ball, because it looked like he had a lot of fun with you guys.
Yeah, and and I was telling this Paola, this adorable film student here, who I talked to for a while for a project that she's doing. I was telling her that Alan, this was a good Catholic boy who lived a very solid, clean life, and he was so responsible and so uber focused that, he would very rarely even drink a beer during the week. But we're at Capitol Speedway. Remember Capitol Speedway?
Oh, yeah, it's still there, yeah.
Yeah.
Madison, yeah.
And for somehow, and this was unusual in itself, he and Dick Trickle ended up talking. Now, this was like the first time that he and Dick Trickle were ever, civil to each other, nice to each other. Well, if you know anything about Dick Trickle, that man had a sponge in his stomach. I mean, he could put him away. Alan decided he was going to sit there, and now this conversation's going really nice with Dick Trickle. And Alan, there's always an ulterior motive. He's going to pick.
He's picking his brain about car setups.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only reason.
Wedge.
Yeah, it's not like he's good. We're going to start a bromance. No, he's going to get everything he can out of Trickle. Well, he made the mistake of. He's not only going to get everything he can out of Trickle, he's going to keep up with Trickle with the drinking.
Oh, my.
Oh, my gosh.
Were you in the car ride home with him?
With him in the back seat, yes, and having to pull over every 10 minutes after the race, and it had been a good night, and Alan had a little too much to drink, and we were staying at a hotel.
This isn't the singing of the Batman theme, is it?
Yeah.
I know part of it, but I want to hear how this sounded with Alan singing it.
We're all I was never a big drinker either. And so, I had 2 brandy old fashions when Alan and I went out for steak dinner, and that'd be about all I could stand to drink. But but Alan, we took Alan out of that bar just plastered. And that was another one where you have to clean up all the puke that's in the car, and we got out of the car, and because now before we get to the hotel, we've got to clean the car out because it's bad, and we're having to take a shirt off, and we had him down to a t-shirt and tidy whities. All of a sudden, we're looking because we're all cleaning the car. Where's Alan? All of a sudden we hear, Batman! And he's running down the side of the road with a blanket, holding it over his head, with the blanket flying behind him. And it was, I will never forget that. Oh my gosh, we're all oh, this is so horrible. We've got to clean all this up. We got to take care of him. And here he is running down the road singing the Batman theme.
Unbelievable stories. Oh. We're gonna have to stop now for that. For just because we have other guests to get on. It could be a year and a half sitting here. Believe me, you would enjoy it as much as I am sitting with these guys. Thanks for bringing the goods. We'll see you guys tomorrow at Allen Kulwicki Park.
Absolutely.
We're going to have more stories, and we're going to hear the real goods, how Kelly and Marilyn were pals back in the day, trying to keep Alan straight. You only hear it here on the Racing Roundup Show, started by Terry Jeffords in 1985, and that's why we're here hanging out today with you guys.
The egg races, right? We got to talk about the egg races.
Oh, the egg races, yes. The egg races and racing the Grand Am, yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And the time Alan caught my girlfriend soaping me down at the garage. It's cleaner than it sounds.
Well, you got clean after that, too. We are going to step away and bring on a next guest here. We're at the Kulwicki Garage inside the WM College of Engineering and Applied Science. We're 21. Kulwicki Driver Development Kulwicki Cup winner, Luke Fenhouse.
You are watching a special presentation of the Racing Roundup Show, live from the Kulwicki Garage, inside the UW-Milwaukee School of Engineering and Applied Science Department. We are excited to share stories about the first college graduate to win the NASCAR Cup Series title and what is likely the last to win a championship as an independent team owner and driver. It's a celebration of Alan Kulwicki Weekend.
Hey, gang. Welcome back to the show. Guess what? We have more guests to talk to, and I'm so thankful he said, yes, I'll do this. He won the Slinger Nationals in 2021 as the youngest winner ever to do that. He then was invited the following Saturday to race in the SRX Series. Our next guest from Wausau also got a chance to race at Slinger Weekly and won the Slinger Speedway Track Championship with just 2 feature victories, I think, in true spirit of Alan. Did it outpoint the other guys, race to the means of the car, and get it done. That year also opened doors for Luke Fenhouse to go racing with Chevrolet's involvement in North Carolina. Moved there in March of 2022, went on to win the Cars Pro Late Model Tour Championship against a bunch of guys that have been doing it for a long time. First time there in Alan fashion, wins the pole position at Hickory Motor Speedway, the hotbed for that division for many, many years, and Luke's been impressive before and since he won that championship.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
I hope you didn't mind the stories we were telling. It was kind of hard to stop those two. It's kind of fun to know that side of Alan as much as we know about the focus and dedication he had with the race car.
Can you repeat that? I've had really bad connection issues lately. Sorry, Jim.
Thanks for your patience. Let's just say that, because I really enjoy the fact that you're with us tonight. And I do want to ask you about when you raced and put that Alan Kulwicki sticker on your car as one of the 7 drivers that earned the right to be a Kulwicki Driver Development Program representative in 2021. What did that accelerate for you as you evolved as a racer that made that 3-hour drive every week to commit to race at Slinger Speedway, a track that Alan won 2 championships at? Can you hear us, Luke?
I got you now. Can you repeat that question?
Sure.
I didn't hear any of it.
It'll be a much shorter question. 2021, wearing that number 7 decal on the car. How cool was that?
Very cool. Obviously, I first got introduced to the Kulwicki program. My crew chief kind of introduced me to the idea of it, and I thought it was a great idea. And so we went after it and ended up finishing 4th to a bunch of great guys, Jeremy Doss, Derek Griffith. There was a few other guys really competitive in nowadays late model racing. And it was just a big stepping stone for me as I was 14, 15 years old. And, now it was kind of brought to a national level. So it was a big year for me. And it was also a huge year for me to learn Alan and Alan's background and try to continue my best witness as his legacy goes on.
And what is that? I mean, I talked about the Chevrolet opening the door. You had to plow through it and succeed. With Alan's background and what you learned about him, how did that help you to get where you are right now?
Yeah, for sure. When I first got introduced, I was kind of lost. And so I relied on my parents. I relied on TR and just the people around me to help me, and did so much research on them. And, now looking back at it, it's kind of where I'm at today with the big year of winning it in 21. Obviously, that put me on a really big stage, as well as just carrying myself as a person. When I learned about Alan and his professionalism and just how he was off the racetrack and on the racetrack, and being, just in tuned in the sport, it carried my ways going into down south, where I was kind of separated from my family and my friends and everything else, and that kind of just carried with it as far as professionalism and showing up to the racetrack on your best look or your best, attitude or mood or whatever the case may be. Carrying the best as you can is huge nowadays.
And I commend you, Luke, as well, because part of the Kulwicki Driver Development Program is initiatives away from the track to benefit others in your community. You helped out at a food bank in Wausau, and I know you're still doing it in North Carolina. How great is that to know you're carrying that on as well, saying there's more to this than just how can I go racing each and every weekend?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was about, really, is when I got introduced to the program, I was just a kid in high school, really, racing race cars, and that brought my attention to so much more as far as social media, as far as out in the community, and helping people in needs, whether it's, donations or fundraisers. It was a lot to learn and a lot to do as far as my family and my team behind me, and that really changed my life. Whether it was off the racetrack or on the racetrack, getting out to the community and helping people in need was a big thing that I kind of found in myself, and to keep doing that today is what I'm very thankful to do, and going to continue it.
Alan Kulwicki grew up 4 minutes away from the Milwaukee Mile. You get to race there as an ARCA Menard Series East points contender August 27th when the NASCAR Truck Series comes back. You're racing the ARCA race that day, and then the other races in Wisconsin. It's like your weekends now are back in Wisconsin again. We're excited to see you racing here this year. How's that program come together? When's the first time we'll see you in a car here in Wisconsin?
Short 2.5 weeks, I think it is. The icebreaker at Dells Raceway Park. Looking forward to that. Obviously you talk about Milwaukee Mile, somewhere we've been really quick the past 2 years. Got one thrown out of our hands 2 years ago, and then last year just a mishap on my behalf. But no, I'm looking forward to getting back into Wisconsin and racing with Tom Ress, my family, my friends, and just enjoying it this year. I'm so focused with my Pinnacle Racing Group on the ARCA Menards East Series side of it that it's going to be good to go back home and race up there and be competitive. There's no slouch racers up there, so to go back up there and still be in a seat is good. And like I said, I'm so focused on my Pinnacle Racing Group team and Mark Webb, Jerry Webb, Shane Huffman, everybody that's helped me get to this point. Lauren Rainier, Chevrolet. We talked about Chevrolet a little bit before, and it's a big year for sure. Big step in the right direction and a big step up from super late model racing. So just happy to be racing again and happy to be in this position, and hopefully it's going to continue that way.
And in fine Alan Kulwicki fashion, Luke Fenhouse made his debut in the ARCA Menard Series. He didn't win the race, but he saved his tires in that 200-lapper at Pensacola, Florida last Saturday and charged up to second, got to the rear bumper of the leader, raced him clean, and finished there to start a really good, strong portion of an 8-race schedule, just 8 races to determine the championship. Luke, thanks for your time tonight. We really appreciate it hanging out with us in the Kulwicki Garage. Absolutely. Luke Fenhouse joining us here. We wanted to make sure we got a representation of young racers. We have some young students that are going to be joining on the program as well. Our next couple of guests, one has been around a long time, dating back to when Alan was racing in USAC. It was actually his father introduced him to Alan. Alan's maybe 14 or 15 years of age. He's very much part of what Alan is still doing today, helping others. And we have a current Milwaukee student. He's actually one of the 15 semifinalists for the Kulwicki Driver Development Program. He happens to be a UWM student and racing in the ASA Midwest Tour, among other races. We'll talk to those two cool people next here on the Kulwicki Garage special here on a celebration of Alan Kulwicki weekend.
This special Racing Roundup show is coming to you live from the Kulwicki Garage inside the UW Milwaukee Engineering Department. It's a celebration of Alan Kulwicki weekend. If you are in the Milwaukee area, we welcome you to join us tomorrow, Saturday, April 1st, at Alan Kulwicki Park for another celebration of Milwaukee's own NASCAR champion. The open house starts at 10 a.m. and our live show starts at noon Central Time. See Alan's 1992 race-winning NASCAR Cup car. See some rare memorabilia and hear from Father Dale Gruba, Alan's Cup crew chief Paul Andrews, and spotter Danny Cameron, plus race fans and friends of Alan. The address and details of the open house at Alan Kulwicki Park can be found on our website, racingroundupshow.com.
Welcome back to the Racing Roundup Show. It's our first show of our 39th season. I had to figure out a way, because we have a banner every year that we have all the guests sign, and we always put how many years we've been doing a 39th season of doing the Racing Roundup Show. And this year's number is fashioned after Paul Feldner, a famous Wisconsin racer who raced in USAC for a long time. The number 39 that we have on our banner this year, you'll see on our social posts. He's actually overseeing the SAE program, and I tried to speak nice things about you with him. I went to UW Milwaukee. I know how important that is. How much fun is it?
The first couple weeks, my first meeting with my advisor, when I was walking through this building, I saw the Kulwicki Garage, and I asked her about it, and I that was before I knew about the scholarship, and she took me down and let me tour the garage and everything like that. It's really cool. It just it's that extra connection to the school that means a lot.
I'm going to peel back the curtain, and you're going to tell us this is a think room. Yeah, that's today's TMJ4 Lance Allen hanging out with Marilyn and me. But beyond it, that's the Kulwicki Garage behind us in the camera view. There are whiteboards in there. It's a think space. So really, you guys can use that in any form, whether you bring your own computers in or they've got flat screens and interfacing, and you've got the whiteboards. I mean, that's kind of a really cool little think space, isn't it?
It's an awesome space, yeah.
Have you hung out there at all? Have you looked at the pictures and the memorabilia that Kulwicki's family donated to the place?
Yeah, when I got to tour it, I got to see the race suit and the old setup book, and all the old memorabilia. It's inspiring to see.
And I also have such a pleasurable opportunity here to have Thumper on with us. I first Paul Feldner's tire changer. He's got a few years on me. But the neat thing is, you have been so much part of Salago McDonald's and Kulwicki Corner with our late friend Jim Patterson.
Yep.
You guys got to do some pretty cool stuff.
You betcha. Jim was one of my best friends in life. And then she said to me, she says, write all that stuff down on a piece of paper, and I want to give it to Jan, my money lady, in Mark Hornbaum's house. And he got this PowerPoint presentation, which is today what KDDP is. And they said, well, you want to do this in the state of Wisconsin, or you want to do it for the whole United States? And I went, huh? Me? Do that? I don't think so, man. I said, I don't know anybody out of Milwaukee. Roberts. And I said, he's such an influence on me, and everything that he did with Allen, and the year that he was doing Allen, he was doing Rusty Wallace, and Kurt Busch and everything else. I said, that guy knows everybody. When you go in a racetrack with him, he's stopped every 5 seconds. So, Tom became the director. I never even asked to be on the board, the voting board or anything like that. And the next thing I know is Thelma's telling me that I'm one of the voters. And, it's grown to what it's become today, and I'm so proud. And they interview these kids, and, I always got to apologize them when I call them kids, because I'm 74 years old, and they're kids. And to interview these guys and go through the process that we went through, a week ago, Thursday and Friday, and then we did it on Zoom this year, so it was so refreshing to see this guy's reaction when we asked him a question. We tried having them be very relaxed in what they did. We crack jokes with them and do different things, but we really want to get in the nuts and bolts of them. Tom will ask them about how they found out about the program, and then I'll get into the nuts and bolts in them, saying, okay, if the car's doing this or that, how do you relay that to your crew chief? If it's loose, if it's tight, if it's doing something, and get these guys to really crack loose on what they know about the race cars. So it's the sense of pride for me is so great. It's probably the best single thing that I have in my life, other than my family, that I've done. But it's just so neat.
Levon, do you thrive on the fact that of the 7 people advising this plan is Alan Kulwicki's championship crew chief, Paul Andrews, and his championship car chief, Tony Gibson? They're part of this process. Anything that you were worried about that they eased or you can now learn from, because you're still part of this program. You are one of the 15 semifinalists, and they're going to keep an eye on you for a long time to come.
Yeah, I mean, even if I don't make it in, being a semifinalist is such an amazing thing to accomplish. I mean, this has become one of the most prestigious programs for race car drivers in the country. And, just to be that small part of it, there's that much more, attention for my career, and, to be able to try to represent someone that came out of Wisconsin and someone that I've looked up to for a lot of my racing career is such a big deal to me.
It's great to see you here. When will we know, Thumper? When's the final 7 drivers announced on RacingAmerica.com?
We vote next Tuesday. We each have to blind vote to TR, and then it'll be announced, I think, the next Monday on Racing America. With Paul being on our group and Tony Gibson and the rest of the crew from Alan's team, those guys are so loyal to Alan's memory, it's almost unbelievable. I mean, we barely get through a meeting with Paul Andrews where the guy doesn't have tears running down his face. I mean, those guys are unbelievable. And that's why you never see team stuff, team shirts, hats, or anything from the original team. never on eBay or anything like that. Those guys got that stuff locked up.
And we have the good fortune of seeing a few of those items here. These items that we keep rolling out on these garment carts, they are brought to us by several people. I've got a couple of shirts in there, but John Safran's got a jacket. We actually have a Xerox uniform. So somebody found a way. We're going to talk to Michael, a UWM grad of engineering, about how he acquired the over-the-wall suit at the time. But you're right, it's very special to have that preserved and that legacy continue.
Well, and then when we went down to Alan's house with Jerry and Thelma and moved everything back to Milwaukee for the park, was so eye-opening. Alan didn't throw away nothing. I think he had every receipt for every nut and bolt he ever bought for a race car in his file cabinet out in the garage. So he was true to himself as much as he was true to his fans and everything else. The guy was, if you would have saw the house and I'd asked Thelma about some artwork or something like that, and he'd tell his mom, tell Thelma, "Oh, that's art, Mom. That's art." Thelma and Jerry one time Jerry had the gold car sitting on his front end.
The big Goodyear one that they give every year. Now it's in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, yes.
He had it sitting on his coffee table in his front room, and he calls me up on the phone. He goes, "Hey, Thumper, you got to get your butt over here." I said, "Why is that, Jerry?" He says, "I got the gold car home. You got to come and see this baby. It's pretty neat." And anybody that knew Jerry, to have Jerry call you up and tell you to do something, it's kind of like, "Okay, Jerry, I'll be right over."
Yeah, he was so proud of that Lincoln Continental that Alan bought him too. He drove that thing with great pride, all the work that went into it.
Yep.
We're hanging out here in the Kulwicki Garage. It's the Kulwicki Garage. It was actually formed as the Kulwicki Pit Stop as a think tank, but coincided with Alan's 2019 induction into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, it became the Kulwicki Garage, and this think space continues to produce great students, great ideas, and forethought, and Levon is one of the examples of that going forward. He is learning as we go through this fine university. We're going to talk to the dean here in a few moments as well, but we want to say thanks, guys, for coming out. Levon, we wish you well. Thumper, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. I'm glad you're mingling, too. There's a lot of people I want to talk to for a very good reason. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys. Levon Vandergeest and Jim Roth. Thumper, again, his handle is 92 Champ 7, right? So, you were way in on this deal. He's bought in, and hopefully you're enjoying this program as well. We'll be right back in the Kulwicki Garage.
Welcome once again to a special presentation of the Racing Roundup Show, live from the Kulwicki Garage inside the UW-Milwaukee School of Engineering and Applied Science Department. Racing Roundup Show is now in its 39th season of covering the Wisconsin racing scene and the world of motorsports. Our regular Tuesday night shows fire up this Tuesday, April 4th at 6 p.m. Central Time, live from Paulie's Pub and Eatery just outside Turn 1 of the Milwaukee Mile. Like our show on Facebook, watch our show live and at your convenience online at racingroundupshow.com. If you are in the Milwaukee area, we welcome you to join us tomorrow, Saturday, April 1st, for another live Racing Roundup show at Allen Kulwicki Park. Show starts at noon Central Time. Details on our website. Thanks for joining us for the celebration of Allen Kulwicki Weekend.
How you doing? Jim Trado back with you. A little set dressing here. We've got these rolling garments and garment racks, and I'm going to talk to the guy who owns these. He brought them in from Tennessee today. Has been brought to the world of mechanical engineering, as I believe Alan remains the only college graduate to win the NASCAR Cup Series title, the only mechanical engineer. And in all reality, intents and purposes, I listened to him on the radio from his ASA days through his NASCAR Cup career. He was so meticulous about what he wanted in that race car. He knew every nut and bolt. He would be that shadow over his team members. And if they didn't do it the way he wanted, no doubt Alan would stay late and get it done the way he wanted. Others knew his system. The team grew to respect the fact that Alan wanted it done right, and they bought in. They all owned their race cars. They all raced as well. They all struggled to make it their own way through, whether they drove or wrenched on cars. When they became an Allen Kulwicki crew member and they stuck around and believed and bought in, that's how magic happens with 16 full-time employees winning a NASCAR Cup championship in 1992. That foundation began at Pius High School here in West Dallas, right down the road from Alan's house, which is walking distance from the Milwaukee Mile racetrack. Alan was told by his father, you can't go racing, you need to get an education. So Alan, in his own way, said, okay, I'm going to go where I can learn the most about my race car, right? So why not come to UW Milwaukee, He went through the mechanical engineering school, and we are so happy that they continue as one of their alumni to honor Alan. Yes, with Thelma Kulwicki and Jan Beatty's involvement, but what a great way to celebrate a guy we got to watch in racing from the early days. I was in the grandstands every Saturday night at Hales Corner Speedway in 1977, 1978, watching this guy race as he's working for a living and racing then 3-4 nights a week while being an engineer degreed from UW-Milwaukee. He earned that degree in 1977. We are very fortunate to have with us Dean Brett Peters here with us with the University of Milwaukee College of Engineering and Applied Science. And Matt Loomis is joining us as well because he's one of those guys that wants to be like Alan someday. He wants to apply what he's learning here. Dean, thanks for having us here and hanging out with us tonight in this wonderful reception here in your hall, celebrating mechanical engineering and all the success Alan had.
Oh, it is so great to have you all here. It is just a pleasure to open up the Kulwicki Garage for this type of event to celebrate Alan's memory and to commemorate the great work that's happening here in the College of Engineering and that continues to inspire a new generation of students. So thank you for coming.
We've got some developing news, SAE program. They've got a brand new Baja car they just put together, painted it up like Alan's car. How much inspiration do you draw, Matt? I'll ask you because you gave a big head nod here. How much knowledge is there knowing that you're coming to a school that had success in racing, specifically the pedigree that Alan brought the attention to here at UWM?
Yeah, well, he accomplished what a lot of us actually want to do. He got the degree, went on to build race cars, and had a lot of fun doing it. So I know myself, that's one of my big goals is to get into racing and building cars and motorcycles, whatever it is. So knowing that someone already did that, there's already kind of a road path laid out to do it again. So it's really cool doing the same thing.
I've got a little helmet here I showed earlier, but this helmet I actually took to the Alan Kulwicki Hall of Fame induction, and I got every crew member I could possibly find to sign this. I thought, what they're all gathered for Alan in 2019. But on this helmet, I have a couple names I still need to get. But this represents the core guys, some weekend warriors, some guys that were there full time. And Alan had a way to save money. He would only travel half a dozen guys to the West Coast races and have others come to race and change tires and have that opportunity. So that represents to me what is the model to make. That's how you should do it. That's how it can happen. Dean, when it comes to working through this program, it's not easy to get into, much less be part of. How much curriculum is applied? I see another think room over here. I mean, it's always evolving here, isn't it, with what you have to offer to the students and what they get out of it?
Yeah, it's definitely evolving. We try to keep up with the technology, of course. We try to make sure our students have a variety of different opportunities. Our faculty work really hard to provide the foundation in the classroom, but we want to make sure the students have opportunities outside the classroom, whether that's through student orgs like the SAE Baja team, through, as you mentioned, our makerspace where they can go in and tinker on their own ideas, or Alan is a great example of outside of engineering even, and thinking about entrepreneurship and how to bring technology into a business type environment, because he had that fundamental engineering knowledge which he obviously applied on his race car, but he also grew and managed his own team and really developed the business, and we try to make sure our students have those opportunities as well.
The Formula SAE program has a pavement road course and an off-road program. Hey, Ricky, bring your guys over. This is the crew. These are the crew guys representing UW-Milwaukee this year. So, Dean, these are your boys. These are your crew guys,
right,
Matt. What are your roles, Matt? You don't have to name everybody's job. There's Ace. There's Ricky. There's RJ. RJ is actually the current UW-Milwaukee Kulwicki Scholarship winner. He kind of oversees the program as the crew chief. Come in, guys. Scoot around us here.
This way, guys.
Yeah, so I'm the design lead.
Design lead. That means you got to start with a piece of paper, right?
Piece of paper, whiteboard, CAD design, whatever it is. We got Ricky here who's drivetrain lead. Ace been helping out a ton with everything all around. We got RJ's president, like I said. Eric suspension lead. Somewhere is Kit. He's way down there, who's controls lead. And everyone else kind of intermingles and works within sub-teams or mid-groups and it kind of works together to make one big car happen.
You guys have a garage, I'm told. It's a secret hiding place a couple blocks away.
Yep.
You kept the paint job for tonight, which is awesome. When are you guys going to race, and who are you going to race against?
Yeah, so every year we go about 3 races. There's an international race once a year, which is in varying locations. Last year was Rochester, New York. This year there's one in Ohio, one in Oshkosh, kind of across the country. Then there's also 2 small races we go to every year, which is Backwoods Baja up in Stout, and then Winter Baja, which is up in the UP. So three races. The 2 ones that are local are up smaller scale, more local, like Wisconsin schools, and the far away ones are typically international events. So all across America, people from Dubai, India, Mexico, worldwide. So.
Are you guys going back to Oshkosh at all this year?
We're going to go watch. We're aiming to go to Ohio for actual international competition, but we figure we'll go see the competition and take some ideas.
John Jeffords was here, and he gave a toast earlier on. He said, guys, you have some homework to do. about something that Alan did. I want you guys, when he goes to Oshkosh, this is the true goods. Father Gruber wrote a book about Alan, and in that book he has the detailed history of Alan's racing. And in the back, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, is a track called Leo's Speedway, and Alan's very first ever race victory in a stock car was at Leo's Speedway the same year he graduated high school, 1973. So you got that going for you. So you need to find that. I don't think it's around anymore, but it's another thing to find on a map and GPS that thing and know that you're part of what's going on. But I just thought, as you mentioned Oshkosh, I'm like, wait a minute, Leo Speedway, that's where Alan won his very first stock car race, and he won so many since. Dean, how else do you guys get to celebrate here? I know this is a think space. It's also open for people to enjoy as well, whether it be a reception or a gathering or UWM alumni like me. If I want to go hang out with my buddies and come on back and visit, we can do that, right?
We use it for all of those things, certainly. It's available for our students, for our student orgs to have their meetings there. Other project teams can use it, but of course, we open it up to the alumni and the community, hosting events like this, other receptions. It's just a great way to show off our space, to get to show off what's happening in engineering, as well as to celebrate the Kulwicki name. It's up there all the time. Some
of the cool stuff that you see behind us, if you haven't been here, there's a wonderful cabinet we can't see from our perspective, but it's got a lot of cool collectibles. It really takes me back, and I'm a geek about that stuff. Yeah, that's my collector car, that's my helmet, that's my hat, that's my little can of lemonade. I got into it big time. But it's great to know the Kulwicki family has allowed other people to see that and feel that. And I want to give you guys something. This was made as a fundraiser for Alan Kulwicki Park and a variety of children's charities. And this lithograph was made when they did a fun run walk in 1995 and 1996 at the Milwaukee Mile on NASCAR weekend. So this Andy Gralski lithograph, they only made 407 of these. And my friends from Racing Roundup, Arizona, Jamie and Betsy Reynolds, said, you know what, Jim? We got ours. We know you can find a better place for it. We're downsizing. We're getting to the point where we need to get some stuff that's cool to you and cool to everybody. So I'd like to give you your very own of that to frame and put in the Kulwicki Garage so people can see, again, Alan's legacy brought to the big bright lights of the guy who did so many wonderful things. Andy Gralski is one of Wisconsin's finest artists. If that's okay with you guys.
That's awesome. That'd be great. We really appreciate that.
This one's John Safro's. I've got one right here for you. You can put any color frame you want.
Okay.
With the letter of authenticity right there. Thank you to our friends in Arizona. But there it is. There's the print I want to give you guys.
Excellent.
As our way to say thank you, and let's keep this going for a long time to come.
I really appreciate that. We appreciate the support of certainly Thelma in particular. I got a chance to meet her a couple of times. She was very instrumental in wanting to establish Alan's legacy and really making sure that his name lived on. And so we're delighted to have the space, some of the things that are on permanent display here, and we're anxious to add this to the collection. So certainly appreciate that. I do want to mention as well, the Kulwicki Foundation provided scholarships for our students, so that continues to provide opportunities for the next generation. They come in passionate. As you've met our students, they are really passionate about what they're doing and these opportunities, and to have that scholarship support is tremendously helpful as well.
We're glad to shed light on it. UWM.edu is where you start. Better you come on down and visit. Gene is a wonderful host to get things going as the Director of Development is here in this engineering class, and I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited for you guys to kick some butt and bring home some trophies here to UWM.
So are we. Let's do it.
Go Panthers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks
for being on our
Thank
show.
you very much.
We're in the Kulwicki Garage hanging out at UWM School of Engineering and Applied Science. We're hanging out here this evening. It's a reception celebrating Alan, an Alan Kulwicki weekend. We're going to hang out with you a little bit longer. We've got a guy who collected these items behind us. We've got a couple of other wonderful guests to share with you as well in the program. Stick around.
This celebration inside the UW-Milwaukee School of Engineering and Applied Science Kulwicki Garage rolls on. Alan graduated with a mechanical engineering degree in 1977. Soon after, he worked full-time out of college while racing on dirt and paved short tracks around Wisconsin. Alan believed his education was to his advantage over the competition when it came to chassis design and handling. In the 75-year history of NASCAR, Alan remains the only college graduate to earn the NASCAR Cup Series championship. It's a celebration of Alan Kulwicki weekend.
We're having fun. We're hanging out. We got a bunch of kids with us. We got a lot of kids at heart, and we got a lot of folks that we want to say thank you to. Gene and the gang here at UWM have gone out of their way to welcome us and have some fun and really enjoy it. Hang on. Mark Goodman, come here, please. Michael Belger, a Master's of Science Structural Engineering, right? Put this on, please.
My bachelor, is it on?
Yep.
Sure. So I got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering in '03. Talk about that more.
'03, got it.
And then in '04, I stayed here at UWM, and I followed it up with a master's in material science.
Pretty impressive. What are you doing now living in Knoxville, Tennessee? Where does that take you?
So I have a global job where I travel around the world for Alcoa Corporation, one of the largest aluminum producers. Since about the 1880s, I think, Charles Martin Hall invented the smelting process to turn bauxite, which is like an ore, into aluminum. And so I provide technical support to all our cast houses globally.
So if you ever drank anything out of an aluminum can,
yeah, probably had
got to
part
thank
to do
him.
with it.
And endless recycling. That's got to be a fun challenge to make sure that all stays.
That's the goal.
True.
And as we get into zero carbon emissions, that's something else that we're getting into. So
he's an engineer, but you also have a great collection. I know. We're going to get into that too. But there's something you may not have. And Mark Goodman here, who kind of talked to you about maybe coming up this weekend to help celebrate Kulwicki Weekend, wants to give you this. Mark, why don't you do the honors? It's something that you may see or may never see.
Awesome.
It's an actual shop rag from Alan Kulwicki Racing Shop.
That is beautiful. Thank you, Mark.
Mark's got the hat, but more importantly, Mark's got the passion. We all do. And Mark is the host tomorrow of the events and festivities at the open house at Alan Kulwicki Park. I hope you can join us there on Saturday. Information's on our website, racingroundupshow.com. And as here with the cool stuff, you brought more cool stuff, Michael, but I want to go back and I want you to tell the story as a Eau Claire, a kid going to school in Eau Claire. And you told me some of this, so I want to start with part of it, and you can please finish and do a better job telling the story. But at age 12, you caught this guy from Wisconsin racing in NASCAR caught your attention in 1992.
Right.
He goes on and wins the championship, and you said, that's my guy.
Yeah, so
what did that turn into from there, Michael?
Well, you kind of alluded to in an earlier comment about you can tell if someone is an engineer. You don't. Even if you're a huge Alan Kulwicki fan, you're probably not going to be an engineer unless you've got the mind of an engineer. As a 12-year-old, I knew it was different. Not always a bad thing. Here's this guy who's suddenly successful from my home state, who's making it his own. I mean, I always kind of had to fight for things myself and never quit. And here's this guy who's doing that, wins the championship, and he's got the engineer's mind where I realize that's really what I need to pursue. I mean, I'd love to be a race car driver, but I don't have anyone giving me a ride at 12. So I might as well start out focusing on, I'm probably going to go to college someday, let's become an engineer because I have the natural aptitude for it.
So as you were a student of this, you learned more about Alan. He races to the NASCAR championship. You got a chance to see his history almost at the end of it, unfortunately, in 1992.
Right.
But since you've applied your knowledge, your ability, and you carried with you something I want to share with the audience, you had Alan Kulwicki, his face on a watch.
Yes.
That you wore, and you had a news clipping in your wallet during your school years. What did those help you, inspire you to do?
So the watch was actually, I think sometimes it's who manufactured it. It was a little Alan Kulwicki watch where the car goes around. You can still find them on eBay. I bought that with my paper route money. It was probably $60, which
Whoa,
is
that's a lot of
expensive
money
for a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
So I remember saving my money, paper route money for that. And really, that way, when things would get challenging, I'd look down and be like, you know what? He didn't quit. He did it. You better not quit. You got it. Clipping was, I believe I was 15. It was Winston Cup scene. Tim Brewer, who was the crew chief for Bill Elliott, who finished second, was a lengthy article on him and Junior Johnson and how things unfolded. But it got into the 92 season. And Tim had said, and it was so impactful to me even as a 15-year-old, because it said, as I'm driving through the hills of Bristol, Tennessee, I never really understood why we lost the 1992 championship until I'm driving through the hills of East Tennessee and I hear Alan Kulwicki's been killed. It's at that point I had peace in my mind. Alan won his championship. He was a racer's racer. And even, I was maturing. I was 15 at the time, but that really impacted me. I want to do something with my life. And you don't know when you're going to die. When it goes, go out on top like Alan did. I didn't even tell you this, but I remember the morning, April 2nd, when I found out Alan died. My sister came in she was doing her hair, older sister, and I'm having breakfast, and she tells me, Michael, some champion just died. I thought she was pulling a sick joke on me.
Yep,
Sadly, she wasn't. Right, yep. Sadly, she wasn't. Well, my father, as he takes me to school that morning, goes to me, well, Michael, at least Alan died a champion. And that was one of the more impactful things my dad ever said, and he was truthfully a great role model to me. So earlier in the night, when Jim was quoting his speech at Benny Parsons, he said it, but he also said it during the awards banquet about leaving an impact or a legacy. He really did that with me. I mean, I'm now at 42 years old. I'm an accomplished engineer. I have my life in pretty good shape. Actually, I've been a pretty good role model, too, I'd like to say, to some younger engineers and younger people, or I try to be. So try to be a positive impact or a positive representative, just like Alan was.
And I've learned by talking to Michael Belger that you, in Knoxville, Tennessee, you've got your own Kulwicki collection.
Yeah, so
the jacket you're wearing, you brought some other stuff with you. These items you found somehow. I mean, we just talked to Thumper. Not a lot of people have Xerox uniforms. This one's got the lined pants. These are over the wall stuff.
Right.
And you've got a Hooters Alan Kulwicki Racing shop shirt. These are pretty cool things to have in your collection. What else do you have? And okay, let's start there. How'd you get these?
Yeah, right. Well, I think you should go back to college. College, I had a pretty thin collection because I'm not from a wealthy family. I pretty much saved every penny for this, where I built my collection. I had some key items in college, but luckily in 20-plus years, I built it. Social media has been a nightmare for society at times, but blessing for collectors, because I've been able to find rare items like this shop piece I picked up. Living in Tennessee helps because there's a lot of NASCAR around there. But the gentleman had gotten it from a crew member who'd had it for form of payment, so I found it on Facebook Marketplace.
Gotcha.
The other thing is a lot of friends I've made through the group. Randy Day's one that you'll talk to later. Mm-hmm. A lot of times Randy will give me heads up on something if either he's not in his wheelhouse of what he's interested in or he's got a duplicate. So I'm very lucky to have met a lot of friends on social media, especially with the Alan Kulwicki fan page on Facebook.
Alan Kulwicki Fans is the page. I also sent a little teaser out this weekend. I think maybe today or yesterday. There's a picture of Alan Kulwicki's car. He raced in 1993 just 2 times. He got to race in the International Racing Champions at Daytona, I think in Talladega, I'm not sure.
It was Darlington was his last one,
yep.
Daytona was his first
yep.
one.
So at Daytona, the race comes down to the finish. I looked up the YouTube finish because you said, I've got something from that IROC car that Alan drove at Daytona. Coming to the checkers, Alan gets fenced. He gets right reared, and the car goes nose in the wall, slides along, goes in the infield, and you see Alan on the stretcher looking over the car like, how's it? I mean, he sits up. He's like, hey, what do you think? Does it look okay? Like, can we fix the thing? He had no interest in that car, but he still wanted to see how bad it was.
Let's see what happened. Yeah.
What do you have off of that race car?
So the funny story is, right, off that race car, I think the IROC cars they used to take back to wherever IROC was centrally located.
New Jersey, yeah.
So I think getting parts off an IROC car is pretty much near impossible unless it got wrecked like you referenced.
Yeah.
A track worker in Daytona that day apparently got a hold of that bumper, took it home with him.
The front bumper, the entire front bumper.
Yeah, the entire front orange, and it's on Facebook. There's pictures. Luckily, a few years ago, he'd moved to Nashville from Florida, and he posted it on Facebook Marketplace. I think Randy Day actually gave me a heads up. He's like, this is closer to your neck of the woods than mine. So I jumped.
Wow.
Got a buddy who had a truck, told me to go pick this up in Nashville. I'll buy you dinner, gas, and whatever you want.
Wow. How fun is that, knowing you have the ability, and now you guys are really caretakers, if you will?
Right, and that's what's so crazy, having such an impact. I never would have thought I'd have this stuff from my hero. I mean, it's literally priceless to me.
What else did you bring today to show us that we may never see again?
I don't know if this one pops up from time to time, but they're fairly rare. But this, personally, I like as a cast pewter car from Action Racing Collectibles. This means a lot to me because I work in the aluminum industry, which is a cast metal. And my master's education here in Milwaukee was doing cast aluminum. I think it's the second floor here. It might be third. It's been a while. But they have the foundry here.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So I did my graduate education. They're running the induction furnace, pouring metal into molds. And now I professionally make the metal and do the casting. So it's neat to see this before I ever got into that.
I'm putting this easel up here because you got some stuff to show.
Okay. Just quickly going to the friends that you meet. It's in the NASCAR Hall of Fame also. Evelyn, who is one of Alan's close relations or friends, wrote the poetry. And she was very prevalent in helping to try and keep the memory alive. I believe she was even up here for his funeral. Well, I met her online, just great conversations, and she autographed the books for me, so I really appreciate that. And the whole me referenced, I'm working on my personal library there, so I love books.
Yeah.
So those really hit in my wheelhouse of what I like to get. Little interesting tidbit, just SAFE offers you interesting opportunities at times. I used to meet one of my mentors on Wednesday nights at Hooters when I was in college when they do trivia night. And one of those nights they happened to do the Dare to Dream movie, which the poster's back in there.
Yeah.
I didn't even show you this. I was actually one of the extras right there on.
Awesome.
There's Brad Weber. So Brad gave me a high five.
You're an extra in the movie Dare to Dream, made here in Milwaukee.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I was just luckily still in college, got to be there for that.
Wayne Knight drew you in, not being a movie star.
It was trivia night.
Oh, yeah, trivia night.
Trivia night. I actually won a trip to Michigan.
No way.
I won NASCAR trivia one summer. Every week they were rounding up the winners. And I think in 2004 I got tickets to Michigan. Don't ask me how I got this. This is an original Hooters menu from Mall of America, one of the first Hooters in the Midwest. And if anyone gets a Hooters menu from before April 1st, they used to have a hot dog called the Kulwicki Hooters Platter. So luckily I was able to keep the menu forever. So that was more or less my home Hooters. Since I'm from Eau Claire, it was closer to Mall of America.
Yep. I remember seeing that on the menus. I ate there because of Alan as well.
Running out of pieces, so I won't keep you too long. But Alan's original, I love the Bristol Night Race. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
The original entry form signed by Alan Kulwicki for the 1986. I believe that would be his rookie first time.
Yep.
I know he ran a few races in 85, and I'm blanking, but I don't think it was Bristol Night Race.
No, I think he ran the spring race.
So this would have been his first night race entry form, autographed by Alan Kulwicki. I acquired this through the former president at Bristol. Another person that friended me over time.
He actually raced the fall he raced the fall races after Charlotte. He ran 4 Cup races, I believe, in 5 of the last 8 in 85.
Okay.
Not at Bristol.
And not at Bristol.
Yep.
And the last one, I guess, just quickly, but there used to be a publication, Beckett Racing Collectibles. When I was a college student in 2003, it was kind of disappointing to me that Alan's memory seemed to really be diminishing a decade later. That's why I love that your show gives homage to him. I see this because even when I came to UWM, there was a little plaque. And Alan meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
I made a lot of good choices. I've never done drugs or any of that stuff because I wanted to be successful like Alan. I mean, he really was. You're going to pick a role model, pick a good guy, pick a driven guy. Yep. Well, back to the magazine. People had write-ins about drivers, and a lot of it was more current. Well, I wrote Remembering Alan Kulwicki, an article, and they published it, or a little write-up on how I was.
2008 Daytona 500 champion Ryan Newman on it. He graduated from Purdue in mechanical engineering. He's the only other college graduate to win a race like the Daytona 500 and race full-time in Cup.
Exactly. So quite a neat coincidence there with that magazine.
Really cool to see that.
But no.
You've got other stuff too, don't you?
So I've got I really need to get the house organized someday to show everything. I'm a pretty anal person. I want a museum quality, but I'll post the pictures as I get it. But I have the original side off of the Hooters show car that was featured on the 1991 Stock Car Racing magazine.
Wow.
See, a lot of people talked about sheet metal out there for Alan. The inside of the sheet metal, if you want to know what year it is, here's the trick. The inside is going to be gray if it was 92 or later. It was red before that, so the show car had a red inside.
Wow. Yeah. Great stuff, man.
Other than that, I've got a rear clip. I mean, I told you I wasn't going to cheat, but I'm going to cheat. My favorite item, and Tom Roberts.
You told me you should probably pick one. I said, go ahead.
I did.
You have a lot to choose from.
This is what started the eBay addiction back in 1999 when I was in college. I decided I'd drop some money. It was shown in the first Hooters restaurant I went to, had it. It's a white plaque with Alan standing by the car, and I love that picture because it's just Alan in the car. I mean, the girls and everything take away from who he's the independent Mighty Mouse. I know he's got his team, but it's him driving the ship here.
Yep.
And it's Rusty Wallace and Miller Genuine Draft congratulate 1992 champion Alan Kulwicki.
There's one of those posters hanging up in the Alan Kulwicki Park. There's also one hanging up on the door of Bobby Gutenacht at Oak Creek Automotive, one of the sponsors and supporters of our show. that were around when Alan was racing back in the day. Those are pretty cool.
Those are really cool, and that was another draw also is I lived in Milwaukee for approximately 4 years. I made it to the park. I never made it inside the pavilion.
How about tomorrow?
So how about tomorrow?
We'll see you there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Michael Belger, thanks so much. He made the trip from Tennessee to be part of this weekend. We're celebrating with you in the Alan Kulwicki Garage at UW Milwaukee Engineering campus where he graduated. And there's a lot more to talk about in the final moments here of our show. We're not in any big hurry. We got a big show for you tomorrow at Alan Kulwicki Park. Michael will be there hanging out too. So we're having a ball here this weekend. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You are watching a special presentation of the Racing Roundup Show, live from the Kulwicki Garage, inside the UW Milwaukee School of Engineering and Applied Science Department. We are excited to share stories about the first college graduate to win the NASCAR Cup Series title and what is likely the last to win a championship as an independent team owner and driver. It's a celebration of Alan Kulwicki Weekend.
Awesome. We're hanging out still here at the Kulwicki Garage. I just want to show there's a few more things back here. I'm going to roll this away and show you. We've got a couple of shirts hanging out back there. We got the Hooters jacket. John Safro and his wife both brought theirs. John actually owns Alan's winning car from 1992. The car that only won 2 races that year was the same car, chassis 007. And I'm going to tease you with something right now, and I hope John is sitting right over here with us as well. We're going to have on several of Alan's crew members. Back in 1992, Danny Cameron was the spotter and also the interior guy and a lot of other things for Alan. And we're going to have Danny on tomorrow at the park. And Danny talked about how much he believed that if you had any choice of car, anything they could ever do to make it right was chassis 007. And that's John Safro's car. We're going to see that tomorrow, weather permitting, at the park. You may have seen it at the Hartford Museum, the Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame, Southeast Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame in Hartford. It was also the car that John said, yeah, I'll stop road racing it and give it to the NASCAR Hall of Fame when Alan was inducted in February of 2019. It then became the Glory Road exhibit car. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a selection of any cars you wanted to put on the big old entryway at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and that car remained as one of his personal choices on Glory Road in the lobby.
It's expensive, and I was trying to not have my name on it, but they wanted to go with it. So anyway, yeah, it's my brother's crew chief and he was crew chief in the NASCAR truck thing. His name is John. The part owners are Mike Hubbard and Corey Ronk. They own a construction and real estate group together. I could go through my sponsors. Fortunately, one of my biggest sponsors is also my employer, EMT International. And by the way, they're looking for engineers. They always got spots.
We're in the right place.
Yeah, and that's actually our sponsorship effort with them is hiring. So anyway, so that's what we're doing weekly. That's our focus. But we're also going to kick off the year here in 2 weeks and run the Icebreaker at the Dells, and then we're going to run the Halloween. So that's our for sure schedule. We wanted to run the Dixieland. That was kind of the original plan. And I have been tracking that ASA national tour, never thinking that the rules would really change. Basically a super late model here is the same as it is in the South, more or less. But then they went from a 2-barrel to 4-barrel carburetor, and talking to our engine builder, wasn't sure if that was the greatest idea, especially if our goal is championship points at WIR. I didn't want to break a motor on a Tuesday and have to find one for a Thursday.
Yeah, and that's a special Tuesday night race.
Yep.
And I'm really glad to know that the Red, White, and Blue State Championship that went back to the 70s, Mark Martin won it. Alan never did win the Red, White, and Blue State Championship. A red race in June, a blue race a white race in July, and a blue race in August at Kaukauna. Combined those 3 races. They're now on Thursday nights as part of your weekly program, right? So that's kind of cool. You get to see all those names and say, I could be part of that list as well.
Oh my gosh. And of course I see all those lists, and we'll see if my name ever ends up on there.
Trickles on there like 6 times. Joe Shear, Mark Martin.
No big deal.
Yeah.
But I think about that stuff, but then it's just an honor, really, just to be a part of it, and going back to the scholarship, doing things like the scholarship, reaffirm that we're doing it the right way. and whether the trophies and all that come, hopefully, but we're just going to keep racing, and after 2019, that was I kind of put me and my family in kind of a bad spot,
okay.
And so we kind of had to review, we're racing fit with everything. But we're racing more this year than we ever have, or in a long time. And my son, who turned 6, he's got about 20 go-kart races this year. So
oh boy,
we got plenty of racing going on.
So you're racing Thursday nights. What's Haynes' schedule? Your son's?
Friday nights at Little Buckaroo Motorsports Park in Cecil, Wisconsin. So he raced basically full time there last year when he was 5.
Wow.
So, yeah. So we're having some fun. It really is. It's a full family effort. Like I said, it's we. It's not I. It's we. It's everybody.
Hey, we wish you well. Thanks for coming down to hang out with us in the Lou Goss joining us here, a Wisconsin racer, a recipient of the 2012 Kulwicki Scholarship here at UW-Milwaukee School of Engineering. And thanks for coming down. This is really cool to hang out in college for a few minutes with you. Lou Goss joining us here in the program. We are live at Alan Kulwicki Park tomorrow. If you're watching us live, thank you for being part of this. We're going to be live at Alan Kulwicki Park tomorrow. We're going to start at noon, but the event itself, the open house, starts at 10 in the morning. Mark Goodman and the gang from 10 to 4. There's a lot of folks that will be there hanging out like we are. We're going to start our show at noon. We've got a great lineup of folks that we've already kind of put together like tonight. I'm so glad Lou said, I want to be on the show, when he responded to a message that after the invitation to come tonight. We've got, again, Alan Kulwicki's crew members. We have Father Gruba kicking off the show with us. Paul Andrews will join us for that. We've got a lot of other folks that we want to talk to and hang out with and talk about how cool and celebrate Alan Kulwicki on this weekend. So thank you, Lou, for taking your time out.
You're welcome.
And we're going to take a short little break and come back with a student that's got the passion to race, and he's doing it now while attending UWM full-time as an engineering student. Stick around.
This special Racing Roundup show is coming to you live from the Kulwicki Garage inside the UW-Milwaukee Engineering Department. It's a celebration of Alan Kulwicki Weekend. If you are in the Milwaukee area, we welcome you to join us tomorrow, Saturday, April 1st, at Alan Kulwicki Park for another celebration of Milwaukee's own NASCAR champion. The open house starts at 10 a.m. and our live show starts at noon Central Time. See Alan's 1992 race-winning NASCAR Cup car. See some rare memorabilia and hear from Father Dale Gruba, Alan's Cup crew chief Paul Andrews, and spotter Danny Cameron, plus race fans and friends of Alan. The address and details of the open house at Alan Kulwicki Park can be found on our website, racingroundupshow.com.
Thanks again for being part of this show. I'm Jim Trado. We do this show every Tuesday night. Starting this Tuesday, April 4th, we go throughout the entire summer, every Tuesday night, bringing you fresh content at 6 p.m. Central Time. We do it in front of a live audience every week. We do it at the racetracks. We do it in bars, restaurants, and we enjoy the fact we get to go to car shows and hang out with people in a live audience setting. That all began in 1985 when Alan Kulwicki was having a send-off party, and our friend Terry Jefford said, video show there. So we actually did the Racing Roundup show as one of our first remotes at the send-off party for Alan as he pursued his career in NASCAR. I want to say hi to Vonnie and John. They're sitting right over here. Johnny and Von, excuse me. Johnny and Von. And Yvonne. Got it. Mark Goodman's my PR guy over here. Johnny and Yvonne drove up from Virginia to be here. They're not too far from Bristol. Maybe they flew. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're here tonight hanging out with us. We also know I saw Brian Peterson and his wife Dee walking through here. He's got a brand new midget to race the Badger Midgets with this year. And it's really neat to see the collection of people and then having students interact with the faculty and having the SAE kids hanging out with us and all taking part in what they're doing. And my brother Ron's here. He actually helped on a bunch of teams over the course of time and just hanging out and just seeing the cross-section of people. It's really cool knowing as focused as Alan was and how many people he touched. We've got a next guest, our final guest of this show. When I came down to this university to look things over, to see the Kulwicki Garage for the first time, Matt Rapina and I came down. Dave Schmalzer was still on assignment a couple weeks ago. Matt and I came down, and we were wearing our Racing Roundup Show jackets, and we were standing right about where that black T-shirt is with the NASCAR Hall of Fame on it. And all of a sudden, I felt this presence, like a magnet. It was Kevin Tong, a student here at UW-Milwaukee. He's like, you guys have racing jackets on. What's going on? And for the next 2 hours, we went through things, looked at things, and I felt like I needed to be the weatherman because they have a monitor in there with Alan Kulwicki photos, and I'm pointing this and pointing that, and this was happening here, and that's what happened there, and he could not get enough of it. Then I learned about your racing yourself, Kevin. You are an aspiring racer, and you're getting it done. You've got the team shirt on today to prove the fact that you loved going racing while being a student here. Thanks for letting us hang out in your lobby for a few minutes. This is
of
cool to have
course.
you on the
Thanks
show.
for being here. This is pretty cool.
It didn't take long for me to convince Kevin to be on the program either, but your schedule is crazy. I mean, there's others that can balance work and school. You balance going to Road Atlanta, to Sebring on weekends when you're not studying engineering here.
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of glad that this is going on this week because next Thursday I'm actually flying out to Mid-Ohio for our next race in our series with World Racing League.
What series do you work on as a team member? What where you guys race across the country? What's the schedule like?
It's not too bad. If we stick to one series, it's about once a month.
What series is that?
World Racing League, WRL. Great series, a lot of really good competition, great cars. Everybody, all the different teams are awesome there.
And I was reading up on it. That's America's leading amateur endurance series.
Oh yeah, the running joke in the paddock is still a lot of nice cars there, and it's just even in the short 2 years you could see the progression. I mean, we have these brand new GT4 cars. The GTO field has been more competitive than ever. So it's definitely, mini IMSA.
So what you want to drive, you still have that passion.
Still have the passion.
What got you involved with Buzz McCall? Remember that name from the past? He was right there with Jack Baldwin for Leisure and Trans Am and all sorts of cool stuff. Buzz and his family now own the team you work for. How did this all come about for you?
So I actually went to tech school back in 2015. That was a long time ago. Went to tech school in Cleveland, graduated, and I knew I wanted to get an engineering degree. I just kind of didn't know the timeline, when I graduated. So I ended up working at just a regular Nissan dealership, going to school part-time. And I met a fellow, his name Paul. Great guy. He had built racing services with my now car chief, Mark Mora. Shout out Mark and Paul. You guys have got me to where I am today. And we were talking. It was actually a funny story. We had gone to the PRI show for the first time when I was attending that school. And I took a picture of this. It was a CSF Porsche Cayman, I believe. It might have been a 911, I don't remember. But we were talking about this car show, this racing stuff. He's, told me he owned his own team and everything. And we were going through pictures, and lo and behold, there Paul was sitting in the background of that picture that I took. So I actually met this man before I ever met him.
Okay.
Anyway, so fast forward a couple years later, he gives me a call. He goes, "Hey, I got this team. They're building cars. They want to go endurance racing. What do you think?" I'm like, "Sign me up. Let's go right now." And at the time, I was working still working at Nissan. And what I would do is, go to school during the week, work part-time at nights, and then during Fridays after work and during the weekends, I'd shoot down to the shop and build these Porsche Boxers that we're racing.
So you're getting to play with Porsches. We're not talking about Mazda MX Cup cars. We're talking about really exotic cars.
Yeah, so back then it was these little boxers they were racing. We were racing in Champ Car endurance series, not the IndyCar series.
Chump car used to be called.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah. So
but it really was kind of fun because you guys could race hours and hours and hours in cars and team drivers and
so
really cost-effective way to get a lot of laps.
Still, we still do endurance racing. We typically do 2 8-hour races per weekend. Longest race is 24 hours. We did 24 hours of VIR a couple years with Champ Car. But, back then it was Boxers. And now we're fielding 4 cars. We have 2 factory-built race cars, a BMW M4 GT4, as well as...
You say this so fast. There's a lot of letters, but these are really cool cars.
Right. Well, if you say M4, they're going to think about it's just your regular... It's a GT4.
I'm just saying that he gets to work on really cool stuff.
Yeah, really, really neat stuff. And really didn't think I'd be able to get this far in my racing career when I was younger. So... I've come a long way.
So what's left to accomplish here? Are you part of the SAE fund, or is that not on your schedule because you have so much to do with chasing that career in racing already?
Yeah, so I'm on the Baja team, and I try to help out where I can, but try to balance, going racing and getting my engineering degree. Can be kind of tough. So, I'll pop into the meetings. I'll try to give my input, from my own personal racing experience, setting up cars, how to build stuff with serviceability in mind, for example, right? Because when something breaks or I have to go adjust something, I'm the one that has to go in there and do it. So if we, implement these kind of thoughts and ideas when we're designing the car, it makes it easier when the cars need to get worked on or get improved after the fact.
What do they let you do on the car?
The
the Baja car and when you go traveling?
So the Baja car, I kind of step back from that because I want these guys to be able to figure out, what they want to do.
Yep.
But on the team, I'm a car chief, so I'm a car chief of the BMW. I do all the setup changes, all the tire scrubbing, pit schedules, driver change schedules, all that stuff.
Wow.
Runs through me. Yep.
Where do you want to be?
We're down in the driver's seat.
You want a driver's seat? Okay.
I want to be in the driver's seat.
So will that come with maybe helping out as an instructor, perhaps? Because it's not every weekend you're racing, but you have exposure to all these other folks that, I mean, if I could drive a BMW, I know someone else is going to help me pay those bills. I can't pay it all myself to race these cars that Buzz McCall is preparing.
Right.
So you're getting involved with guys. For example, our friend Ryan Eversley, who did a podcast about Alan Kulwicki and for Dinner with Racers, he does a lot of driver instructing as well as driving as one of the factory Honda guys. Is that something that could appeal to you or open up to you as you're in the environment, you're in the paddock? You may have an ability to drive as someone's coach/driver, perhaps going forward.
Yeah, and one of the greatest things about racing is because it's such a small, tight-knit community, you meet a lot of amazing people. And honestly, that is how I've gotten myself in a driver's seat at some points, right? My buddy Lester, who's one of my teammates, great friend of mine, he was the one who got me at my first track day. He let me drive his car. I'm like, dude, I'm going to crash it or blow it up. He's like, dude, I don't care. Just go out and have fun. And it's, and that's how it worked. And eventually, I was able to secure a seat at the 24 Hours of AR. It was very cool. I worked on this Porsche box. I built it mostly by myself along with the other team. Built the car, ran the car when Brad and Buzz drove it in Champ Car, sold the car, followed that team, was crew chief for that team for a little race, and then was able to secure a sponsorship between me and some other guys and drove that car at the 24 Hours of VIR.
It's great to see you here. Keep it going. I know that we can look at that wall and say, you know what, Kulwicki did it his way. I need to make my own path, and I'm glad to see you're inspired.
It's very inspirational.
I promise. We got to have him on. He's going after the Kulwicki Driver Development Championship. We're going to maybe go till 7 or a little after. I don't know. We got the chance. The party ends at 7. Dave Schmal is our engineer for the last 8 years of the 38 and a half, I think, with Don and JD actually jumping in there, and then he's giving me the whole, hey, hang on a second. We got a time to keep. The beautiful thing is we're hanging out in the Kulwicki garage. We got to come right back with one more guest, right? He's in the Kulwicki Driver Development Program now.
This special Racing Roundup show is coming to you live from the Kulwicki garage inside the UW-Milwaukee Engineering Department. It's a celebration of Alan Kulwicki Weekend. If you are in the Milwaukee area, we welcome you to join us tomorrow, Saturday, April 1st, at Alan Kulwicki Park for another celebration of Milwaukee's own NASCAR champion. The open house starts at 10 a.m. and our live show starts at noon Central Time. See Alan's 1992 race-winning NASCAR Cup car. See some rare memorabilia and hear from Father Dale Gruba, Alan's Cup crew chief Paul Andrews, and spotter Danny Cameron, plus race fans and friends of Alan. The address and details of the open house at Alan Kulwicki Park can be found on our website, RacingRoundupShow.com.
Welcome back to the Racing Roundup Show, live hanging out here at UW Milwaukee College of Engineering and Applied Science in the Kulwicki garage. Part of it is they gave a bunch of cool stuff for the students to see and be inspired by. This little think space here is also part of what we want to expose and make sure you're part of, as this is a celebration of Alan Kulwicki Weekend. Tomorrow there's an event at Alan Kulwicki Park on Highway 100 in Cold Spring. The address is on our website, RacingRoundupShow.com. That is going to be fun from 10 to 4, open house, rain or shine. The pavilion is the Brooks Pavilion, named after Robert Brooks, who owned the Hooters restaurant, and his son Mark was one of the 4 members who perished in the plane crash that took Alan's life on April 1st, 1993. It's really cool to see all the neat things they have in there. But as we sit here and reflect and look upon Alan's legacy, we also have the continuation of Alan's legacy with the scholarship program here, the scholarship program at UNC Charlotte that goes on in Alan's name each year. My friend Ryan Zeck was racing an ASA, and he got the chance to be a Kulwicki Scholarship recipient there. There's a lot of people that are touched and carry that story through. And when I saw Riley walk in today, I'm like, wait a minute, we got to have Riley on the show. Didn't have you on my list of people, but the more important thing is you are taking the time, and you are now trying to return to be one of those classic 7 people to represent Alan Kulwicki in the KDDP class of 2023. Class of 2022, you were in that as well. And I could tell the determination was there. I could tell when you guys had early season issues at the Dells Icebreaker, and then the next event, it's like, oh man, we got to dig deep. How much does that inspire you now going forward, saying, I want to be one of those guys to represent Alan again this year?
Yeah, especially last year, being in the program in the 7th year, it was pretty cool to be a part of those 7 finalists. And we came off a really good year in 2021. We were able to win the Tundra Super Late Mile Championship, and really just had some second season or whatever woes, and had some bad luck like Jim alluded to there at the beginning of the season, and really had to dig deep. We had a bunch of rainouts in June, and just to get to they require require you to have 15 races in for the program, and just to get to the 15 races, we really had to dig deep to get those in by the end of the season with all the rainouts, and we had a few mechanical failures. So yeah, it was a pretty good season overall. I mean, it showed us a lot of adversity, and we were able to overcome it.
And I know by looking at last year's setup, our first show of the 38 season last April, you were on as one of our first guests. It was part of what you may have felt you had to do as an outreach of being representing the Alan Kulwicki Driver Development Program. It's part of the media training or part of the outreach. But what have you learned in that year's time now that you are going to apply going forward, or how you approach your race car and your race team, because you are learning about Alan and trying to find a way to be successful like he was?
Yeah, I really learned a lot last year. I think that would be a big benefit if we were able to get in again and be one of those semifinalists or one of those finalists again, because I really felt like we learned a lot. We learned some of the things that we did that worked and some of the things that didn't go as well as planned, and I feel like we could build on those and really have a successful year.
So the Kulwicki Driver Development Championship was won for the first time in 2015 by UW-Madison engineering student, not graduate, Ty Majeski. It was won a couple years later, the next year, by Alex Prunty, who went to Moraine Technical College and works now in the R&D department at Briggs & Stratton. Two Wisconsin guys. There are at least two Wisconsin guys on the list this year. You and Levon Vandergeest, who we had on earlier, and you were chatting with over here. You guys are hoping to be from the 15 down to the 7. Yeah. It's got to be cool knowing you're in the Badger State trying to represent Alan again.
Yeah, being from Wisconsin, it's extra special to be a part of that program with all Alan's ties to Wisconsin and the rich short track history we really have here. So I really love being a part of Wisconsin. We've got so many great short tracks around here and so many great series to race in. And to represent Alan Kulwicki and be in the program from Wisconsin just is an extra feather in the cap.
One more layer to that, another feather in that big old Chiefs headdress for you. You're also an engineering student here in Milwaukee, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just finishing up my degree here at Milwaukee School of Engineering across town, and I had an exam later this afternoon. I thought it would be great to come over here and check this out too.
So you're trying to balance all of that too. Your family team, trying to get the car ready. Are you racing against Levon at and Lou Goss, who was just here at the Icebreaker at the Dells again?
Our planned first race is the first opener at Slinger. The ASA race at Slinger is our planned first race.
So just so you know, we talk about races upcoming. If you're in Wisconsin or want to make an April field trip, April 16th is the Icebreaker 100 at Dells Raceway Park. And Sunday afternoon, it's the ASA Midwest Tour at Slinger Speedway on Sunday, April 23rd, the week after. So you can make a nice long week of it. If you have a late spring break, come up and join us in the Badger State. And if you are available, we'd love to see you there in person. I know we do a lot of our shows and talk about those great races, but man, the history and tradition and your ability to put forth what you do, and I saw you working hard on that race car when I was at the Dells last year. There's a lot that goes on with that car that you have now gotten to know. Is it by choice, by design? Was it your dad saying, you need to fix it, you need to repair it, you need to know what that car is? Or is it self-interest that's got you behind the wheel and the wrenches?
I would say it's a